It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hardworking entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Lisa Anderson. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about scaling to 7 figures. Sounds like a good number, doesn't it? Let's talk about it. What's going on, Lisa? How are you?
All is well. Thank you, Shay, for having me. I appreciate you. Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and thank you to viewers for tuning in, by the way. We know you have a lot of choices, and you chose to be with us, so thank you so much. We appreciate it, especially during these challenging times. Before we get started, we'll talk about Lisa's background, how famous she is, and all that cool stuff. Some of you already Googled her, I know. Some of you already on her website, I know. But before we get started, Lisa, I'm curious. We're talking about scaling to 7 figures. I guess my first question is, why are businesses still struggling just to get to 6 and 7 figures? I know the SBA office says that 95% of businesses never ever get to $1 million ever, and that's not including the other ones that are left hanging out there. So, what's holding them back these days?
Yeah, I think a huge part of it is business owners are still trying. Small business owners are still trying to do things themselves. They are still all the things within their business, their administration, their operations, their delivery, you name it, they're doing it, and they're not taking the time to build the operational components, the team that they need to actually execute that can help them expand to and through $1 million. That's one thing. The other thing is I come across a lot of small businesses that still struggle with pricing. They still have some challenges with understanding that pricing starts within. And oftentimes companies go outside of themselves. They go test the water, see what they think, not what they know, but what they think the competition is charging and pricing. And then they just cut themselves, and they cut themselves to a detriment. And so a lot of what we do with companies is to help them understand, number one, pricing is a budgeting exercise, and that you have to, evaluate from the inside out internally, and then compare and measure yourself against the competition. And that even before you go there, measure yourself against what the customer's expectations are. That's the first thing. And then while you're going through that budgeting exercise, take the time to incorporate some infrastructure build in that pricing model, so that pricing model gives you the opportunity to build out that team that is going to relieve you as a business owner and allow you to focus on business development and increasing top line revenue. So I think it's those two fundamental things. And then, of course, I would have to say, because of what we're experiencing right now in the marketplace with all of the executive orders and all the other things that are happening right now, I think that we allow external factors and disruptors to surprise us versus being prepared for them and, making pivots and shifts when it's necessary or before we even get to that point. So those are the 3 main reasons why I think companies are not making it. They're not achieving that $1 million status or entering into what we call that 7% club.
The 7% club. I love it, by the way. And before we go down that track, we'll get to a backstory. I'm curious, for the persons watching, a number of our entrepreneurs, some of these folks are dualpreneurs. They work a full-time job and they're a full-time entrepreneur. And you talked about something that I think is very important, which is pricing, making sure you're priced to be profitable. I don't know if that's a term or not, but priced to be profitable. For the person that's so worried about raising their prices, so worried about charging what they should be charged or what it is, the value is there. I guess the question is, what's the mindset, or what would you say to the person that has a mindset about being afraid to charge what they're worth or charge enough to be profitable? Any thoughts for that person that's listening and watching right now?
Yeah, a lot of it is a mind game, right? In terms of charging the right prices. No matter what stage of the game you're in, no matter how long you've been in business, some people still struggle with that. And money is a mind game as well. So typically what we do is we talk to clients, we talk to companies, we help them identify the factual side of pricing. Go out to the marketplace, do a little bit of research, determine how much does it cost for a company or an organization or a customer to hire someone to do what you do. That's the first thing. And then when you think about the work that's being performed, when you're working for someone else, they're paying for things like your employer taxes and overhead and supplies and office space and all those things. But all those things need to be incorporated and captured into your pricing, because guess what? Even as a solopreneur, or if this may be a side gig, you're still incurring certain expenses that need to be captured into your pricing. So it's not I don't try to change people's minds about what they think in terms of their worth, but instead, let's go out and do a little bit of research. Let's let the numbers speak for themselves. Let the research tell you exactly how you should be pricing these things. And then let's take a look at the impact of what the way that you're pricing currently and what impact that has on your bottom line. And then let's go out and take a look at what the competition is actually charging. And I think those things help us really see real firsthand the way that the impacts of pricing on our business that's keeping us, that's holding us back, really keeping us from growing. And then from there, we're able to build a good profitable structure that gives us the opportunity to grow, to increase revenue, increase opportunities, but then also increase our ability to hire people.
Spot on. And one of the reasons I wanted on here, ladies and gentlemen, she's not only looking at just bringing in revenue, she's focused a little bit on the profit side as well, by the way. I mean, she's not just saying just charge the charge. She's saying you've got to be profitable. And you might be wondering, who is this person? Like Shay, I didn't read her bio. I'm cooking in the kitchen right now, right? Someone might be on the plane or on the automobile or driving down the road when you're listening in the ears to the podcast and saying, this sounds good. I need to reconnect to this, Shay. It makes sense and sense. You'll find about her CPA. It makes sense and sense. So take a moment, if you would, Lisa, and tell the folks, a little about, they have two questions. What's your backstory? Because they're always curious about that. And then what was that defining moment that you knew that, I'm here to help small businesses not just grow, but be profitable as they scale beyond the plateau?
Yeah. So I have to say that I think the process of supporting small minority and women-owned businesses to help them to scale and grow is something that was kind of ingrained in me. I am reared in a household from my father was an engineer, my mother was a budget analyst. So numbers was a thing in my house. And my father and I spent a lot of times talking about numbers in different respects. However, when I was in high school, I took an accounting class and I fell in love with it. From there, I went to work for small businesses, companies that they were in the 7% club. They had earned $1 million or more, actually much more in revenue, but they struggled. They struggled with pricing. They struggled with hiring. They struggled with a lot of different things that would help them continue to operate and grow and scale. So I endeavored to start a consulting firm many, many years ago now, 28 years ago to be exact, to help companies most specifically in those areas. Let's put some structure in place. Let's follow a few basic principles, and let's make certain that we're building a good solid bottom line. And not only that, but we're also building a business that is your asset, that is building wealth, so that when you get to the end of the road, whenever that may be, and there will be one, that you are leaving, you're exiting the business with value, that the business is paying you for all the sweat equity that you put into it. And so I think that the work that I did over the years in supporting small businesses helped to reinforce my interest and desire. And then as I started to do consulting, that's what we focused in on, is helping small businesses. And then we also had some large clients as well. But our sweet spot is really helping small businesses grow and scale. And so that's kind of the backstory per se. And like I said, I've been in business myself for 28 years. I've been where
Congratulations.
you are. Yeah, thank you. So I've been a small business. In the beginning phases, I worked hard as a consultant. I had the mindset that, I just really want to do good work. I wasn't really trying to achieve millions of dollars in revenue. But as I started to gain experience and started working more with other companies and started to see there was a pathway and an opportunity for me to scale my business as well, we did that. And so my company grew to be 50 employees. We were over $4 million in annual revenue. I sold that company, started another one, and now I focus in on strictly on helping small businesses increase their capacity.
Congratulations to you, man. What an accomplishment, by the way. And as you were sharing that with you, I said, man, this is a perfect segue. You have a book called Beyond the Plateau. And there's a number of steps in there. You know, you couldn't go into all the detail, obviously. But if you had to take a few minutes and the person says, man, I am curious, how do I get to 7 steps? Is there 1, 2, or 3 or 4 things I should look at? Could you take a
Yeah.
couple of minutes? And now, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to lean forward. Okay, this is a good opportunity. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask her, hey, can you give us 2 or 3 of the steps in the book, Beyond the Plateau, which she'll tell you how to get that, I'm sure, in a few minutes, that anyone can do to get them on that path to 7 figures and beyond. I
Yeah.
like that, Beyond the Plateau.
Absolutely.
I just
Beyond the
love that title. I
plateau.
just love that. I think that's, it really resonated with me. And I was like, man, that is just, it's hot.
Yeah, so when we think about plateaus, honestly, we think about, standing still, right? We think about there's no movement in business. But really, when you think about when you really get down to the nitty-gritty of plateaus, plateaus are designed to be a platform that you stand on to prepare for the next level of growth. So you've grown to a certain point. You've got to stabilize the organization so that you can prepare for that next level of growth. But we don't want to stay there, right? And a lot of companies, they do plateau, they hit a ceiling and they stay in that position for a really, really long time. So growing beyond the plateau is really helping business owners, small business owners, think about and focus in on really 4 key areas of business. So all I want you to focus on 4 key areas: your mission, your marketing, your money, and your management. That's it. That's all we want you to focus in on. And when you focus in on those areas in that order, you start to increase the company's ability to increase its clarity, consistency in the marketplace, increases cash flow, and then ultimately, at the end of the day, every question and challenge in business is a capacity question. And so we want to go through a cycle of focusing in on those 4 key areas that gives us the opportunity to increase our capacity, whether it's our cash flow capacity, our management capacity, our partnership capacity, or even our marketing and client intake capacity. So at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. And how do you do that? You do that in 5 ways. You follow 5 key steps. The first one is to plan your vision. You've got to sit down and pay attention to the direction that you want to take the business in. Why does the business exist? What are your values? And then also, what is your exit strategy? I talk to a lot of companies, and when I first speak with them, that's one of the first questions I ask them is, "What is your exit strategy?" And 9 times out of 10, they kind of stop and look at me like, with deer in the headlights. Like, what do you mean by exit? I just started, or I'm going to be here for a long time, or I'm going to be here forever. But no, the reality is you need to be prepared for an exit so that you can plan every day to build value in your business, right? That's going to lead you towards whatever that exit is going to be. You don't want to wait until you get really close to that timeline where you're tired and you're ready to exit. You want to make certain that you're building the value over time. And so you want to plan that vision. And then from there, you want to understand your numbers. You've got to understand revenue generation. You got to understand pricing. You got to understand how to build financial capacity, whether it is partnering with a bank or building financial capacity in other ways. But you want to make certain that you understand the numbers of your business. From there, you want to make certain that you leverage your resources. This is the one area where I see most companies leave so much money on the table is they don't leverage their resources. They don't tap into partnerships. They don't really go back and take a look at, who do I know? Who have I come in contact over the years? Who can actually help me grow, whether it's through a partnership, through providing us with an opportunity as a customer, or maybe I can hire somebody that I know. But it really is leveraging those resources, and then from there, scaling your opportunity. A lot of times we don't grow because we play small. We don't look at the next opportunity to grow beyond where we are currently. For me, it meant that I grew beyond just being a single consultant and helping small businesses to really growing out my team and becoming what I called a solid corporation. And so you've got to scale your opportunities, look at bigger contracts, look at bigger customers to support and serve. And then finally, engage a profitable team. At the end of the day, business is not supposed to be run solo. It is supposed to be run as a team. You're supposed to have multiple individuals that are serving and supporting your organization. And then from there, follow the steps again and again and again. It's a repeat process. So those are the 5 key steps. And that's how we kind of work with companies, is helping them focus in on the 4 key areas and follow those 5 steps. And we revisit them on a quarterly basis.
I love it. I love to be visiting on a quarterly basis because life is you get on track and you're off track and you're on track and you're off track. So I like to be visiting and changing and circling back and having a system is what it sounds like that someone could do to really build the business. I think this is a perfect segue to a segment we have here called Today is My January 1st. Because maybe Lisa's life is perfect. We're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen. But for those folks who are tuning in for the very first time, you know what we're about to do. You can even say those magical words. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you, by the way.
Happy
For all the new
New Year.
folks who are joining for the very first time, want to know what in the LL Cool J is Shay talking about over there. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is, the past really no longer equals the future. So my question for Lisa on the other side is really twofold. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? But more importantly, was there ever a setback? Was there ever a bump in the road that you had? And if so, how did you bounce back from it?
Yeah. So today is my January 1st. I'm going to start there. One of the key things that we help companies do is, again, build equity. You build profit and you build equity. You build value in your business. And ultimately, that helps you to develop and create your legacy, right? Whatever that legacy is, whether it is helping to develop generational wealth, or if it is, to help the community, whatever that legacy is, you're building that legacy now within your business. So for me, it's January 1st. I'm building my legacy. I work side by side with my daughters. They work with me internal to my business. They're also entrepreneurs. They have their own arms of the business as well. And we're building business together. So sitting down and following my 5 steps to make certain that we are continuously following that model and continuously growing in that way, so that we're building that legacy that is greater than me and also greater than them, because I have a grandson now too. So we're building something that is greater than us, and putting pen to paper, because I think that is extremely important, making certain that plan is written out so that you can then follow it. Going back to your next question in terms of setbacks,
Yeah.
um, I had to think about that question honestly, because I don't know that I've had. I'm sure I have, but I'll
Mhm.
say this: the setbacks for me have always been moments when I've hit my lid. I am a John Maxwell certified leadership coach, and one of the things that John Maxwell talks about is the leadership lid. We can only go to a certain point. We can only we hit a certain capacity, and then we've got to learn and grow beyond that. And each time that I've hit a brick wall, I would say it's because it was something that I needed to learn next. Transitioning from consultancy to corporation, to be from consultant to CEO, that was a lid raising moment. I had to learn. I read books like The E Myth and um, Entrepreneur by Dave Ramsey, I think is the name of it. Entre Leadership. So I read a lot of books, and then all the John Maxwell stuff I read. But it was all helping me to prepare for the next level, to build out my team, to build something beyond me. And then I would say in expanding my opportunities and scaling my opportunities, stop playing small. I had to learn how to not just serve the small business, but also step into serving larger business. And so we learned how to not just serve government contractors, we became a government contractor. So it was always something that was, there was room for me to learn more. I think the next thing, it wasn't a setback, it was actually a setup. Isn't that what, what's his name?
Willie
Oh
Jolly?
God. Yeah, Willie Jolly. Yes,
A
thank you.
setback, a
Willie
setup.
Jolly's, that's that setback is a setup for a comeback. Well, I sold my business, the first one, I sold my business at its height. And I wasn't planning to sell it, but it was a good offer and I took it. And it gave me the opportunity to prepare and position myself to do something bigger, greater, and to actually serve the community in a greater capacity. So I think in each of those instances, it was just really something where I needed to learn something more. Even hiring people, I made mistakes hiring people. I know that, one of the things I coach my clients on is you got to follow your gut instincts, right? You got to make certain that you have your mission, vision, values in place, that you're hiring against those values. And if something doesn't seem right, it probably isn't, right? So you got to explore that. And there are moments where I didn't explore that. And so those were mistakes. I would say that was a setback because it did put us in a position where we had to level out the culture. We had to coach individuals into following the right path, or maybe even coaching them outside of our organization. It was time to move on. So I just say that that was a setback, just learning and preparing and understanding how to be a really good leader to the individuals that we hired, and then how to make those right decisions during the hiring process.
Wow, how powerful is that, by the way? Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so authentic. One of
Yeah,
my favorite questions to
absolutely.
ask as we come down the home stretch is a question you may have heard before, but I love it. And that is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? Now, you've been given a lot of advice. I don't, ladies and gentlemen, ask him to come off the mountain with the 10 Commandments here, okay? But she's
Hmm.
had a lot of mentors. She mentioned John Maxwell and threw his name out there. And she's probably read more books than she can remember these days. And 10,000 hours, that's like a joke. I probably did it on the weekend with my thumb looking at videos, right? So my question to you is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given from any of your mentors that you'd want to pass on to the audience, and why?
Yeah, so I would say one of my mentors told me early on. This is a quote from Maya Angelou, but she told me early on, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. And I think that's extremely important in your personal life, but it's also extremely important in your business life. I'm in the process of writing a book right now that's about vetting your resources. I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons why companies don't grow and they leave a lot of money on the table is they don't leverage their resources. But you've got to vet your resources too, right? So you can't just, bring anybody into partnership. You got to make certain that we have the same values, that we are marching along, forward with the same purpose, that we can actually play together well, that, we understand that, when we're partnering together, that we're in a marriage per se, and we've got to be able to, be married to one another in a really good capacity. And so just making certain that you understand when people tell you or show you who they are, believe them the first time, because 9 times out of 10, that's the thing. That's who they are. That's who they're going to be. I'm working with companies right now that are in joint ventures, and some of the joint ventures are great. Why? Because they vetted those individuals. They did some work together first to see if we could work well together before we formed a joint venture. Then I have others that they're not playing well at all. But guess what? The other party showed you who they were when they walked in the door. There was no secret. And so a lot of times we see money in front of us. We want to pursue money, and that's a great thing. But all money is not good money, and you want to make certain that whatever money you're pursuing with a partner, that you're pursuing it with a good partner, that we can go into through this process in the long haul. So that was one piece of advice, and another piece of advice wasn't necessarily from a mentor, but it came from a book that I read, and it was "What Got You Here Won't Take You There." Just understanding that business and life will go through transitions, and there will come a time where some resources will need to level up, just as you level up in your business. It's just understanding that you want your resources to grow with you, and if they can't, then it's time to bring other resources in that can help you continue to move to the next level. Don't stand on that plateau. Let's keep it moving.
Well said. Well said. What do you do for fun? We're not out saving the world, growing businesses, selling companies, helping people scale to seven figures. What do you do for fun these days?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the baseball field with my grandson, watching him play. It is a return to the field because my daughters played sports, and we spent a lot of time there. Now we're back at it, and I spent a lot of time in Florida. We invested in some property some years ago, and that's my happy place. And I spent a lot of time there. It's a lot of
Ah,
fun, and I'm
enjoying the
also
warm weather, huh?
enjoying it all year long. Yes, all year long. Yes,
Well,
but I am
congratulations.
also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, so that keeps me very busy as well in the
Got to give a shout out
community.
to the Deltas. There she goes. You got to get the shout out. You got the shout
I
out
got to
all
give a
up
shout
out
out.
there.
Yes,
Anyone that wears crimson and
absolutely.
cream is very near and dear to my heart. It's the only colors you need to wear these days. So I'm with you
Yeah,
100%, obviously. Um,
awesome.
as we come down the home stretch, a two-part question. What type of clients are you looking to work with these days, if any? I don't know if your firm's taking on any clients. And number two, how can folks connect with you? Like, hey, I like this. I like what I'm hearing. Maybe she's for me now. Maybe she's for, I know. Where can I go? Where should I meet her? Where should I connect with her?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we work with service-based business owners that are from launch to 30 million in revenue. That's our window. And we are taking on new clients. And in addition, we work with companies that are in or around the federal government contracting community. As you know, there's a lot of shakeup in the community. My background, over 30 years in government contracting and serving companies and organizations and the government as well, just helping organizations grow in that space. And so we are working very feverishly right now to help companies maintain their existing contracts, and then also continue to maintain profitability in a environment that is unsettling currently. But that's where our focus is currently. And then in terms of how can you reach us, you can reach us by way of our website, which is www.scaletosevenfigures.com. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn at Lisa Anderson on LinkedIn. And I am very active on LinkedIn. So I will definitely reach out to you, connect with you, and see if there's a way for us to have a conversation.
Wow. Well, let me say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So you're giving us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you
And thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you. And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show, by the way. So we appreciate you showing up and making this a choice for you to watch, whether you're watching live right now or you got the replay, however you're watching. We thank you for being a part of your life. And I never get tired of reminding you, every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, by the way, whether you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming, or your business and life is going to a whole nother level. The one thing I do believe is that today in this moment is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. We out of here. Peace. Thanks so much. Talk to you later, Lisa. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.